y'all, I'm Leah Lawrence.
And I'm her husband, Mitch Lawrence.
And you are listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast, where I regale my husband with Southern stories of macabre, creepy, and strange.
And I drink.
What are you drinking tonight, Mitchell?
Thank you for asking. Our beer tonight is Judge Juicy Hazy India-style Pale Ale. Brewed and packaged by Ghost Train Brewing Company in Birmingham, Alabama. It's 7.25% alcohol by volume. And there is absolutely nothing on the cans or online about this beer. I think it was like a one-off thing. Ghost Train, I believe, has cut ties with their Judge Juicy. But they're not acknowledging that it exists anymore. But yeah, so they have nothing to say about it, so we'll just go into what I have to say about it. It's easy drinking, not too bitter, just enough to make it like an enjoyable IPA, but there's not much else going on. There are some slight fruit notes, and nothing else really to make this stand out. So it is good, I would say not great, because it just doesn't do anything to separate itself from the field. Leah, you tried it. What do you think about it?
I have slight fruit notes.
Okay, and this beer got an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, so no, the beer's fine. It's not my favorite, but it's fine.
All right.
It's drinkable.
I'm so glad Leah's involved. Our shot in the dark for the night, Shelta Cavern Spirits Whiskeynaut hop-flavored whiskey.
I have very strong feelings about this one.
Okay, well, we'll get there. This is proudly distilled and bottled by Straight to Ale Brands Incorporated in Huntsville, Alabama. 40% alcohol by volume. Let's read the bottle. The same barley malts used to make our Whiskeynaut IPA are distilled and flavored with Centennial hops to make Whiskeynaut. Discover Southern Craft Distilling. Discover Shelta Cavern Spirits. And that's on all the spirits they make. The last two parts. So, this whiskey is made with the same malts that make their most famous beer, I'd say. The Whiskeynaut IPA, which we had on 2 years ago now, because it was our Tailgate Tales beer for the entirety of Tailgate Tales in 2018? Mm-hmm. 2018? Yeah. I love the beer. Absolutely love it. I think it's great. It's very bitter, very strong, and just has a whole lot of taste to it. The whiskey is not so good. It does smell exactly like Whiskeynaut. You pour yourself a glass of it, put it up to your nose, and it smells just like that beer. It's crazy sweet and tangy, way sweeter and tangier than a whiskey you've ever had would be. And then it's weirdly bitter on the back end, like an IPA. And it's not bad for me, but it is also not particularly good. Interesting, I would say, is the best descriptor of the whiskey. Again, not bad, just definitely not very good. Leah has strong feelings because I made her try it. What do you have to say?
It's terrible.
There we go.
Do not purchase.
You're supposed to say, I have barley malt. Never mind.
Barley malt notes.
There you go.
Yeah. No, it's really terrible. Don't do it to yourself. It literally burned my lips when I attempted to take a sip of it. It tastes like rocket fuel. I don't like it. No, thank you.
Well, again, I don't particularly like it, but I also don't think it's terrible. I gave it a 7 out of 10 on ice. That might be generous. I don't know.
It's very generous.
The only thing that we have to mix here is lemonade that we had last week with the blueberry vodka. It's okay with lemonade. It's the sweetness kind of hides a little bit of it. So 7.5 out of 10 with the lemonade, 7.25 out of 10 overall for Whiskeynaut, and Straight to Ale / Shelta Caverns. You can do better because we've experienced it.
Yeah, their vodka is great. I think we've had their rum, right?
Yes.
That's good too.
Mm-hmm.
But what the hell?
Yeah.
No.
I said, it's interesting because they're using it. It smells exactly like one of the beers that they have.
Right, leave it for the beer because that whiskey is not good.
I'll agree with leave it for the beer. Make your own spin on a whiskey. Just any, I said that the Judge Juicy is just like a plain every also ran IPA. Make an also ran whiskey. Don't try to make it interesting. because when you did, you fucked up. That's all.
It was...
It's not terrible, okay? I don't think it's terrible, but it's really not good.
And they use all of the Shelta Cavern spirits. They have a speakeasy in that brewery, which is where they serve cocktails. And they use all of their own spirits in their cocktails. The cocktails are great. All of their spirits mix great. But just drinking it straight, that Whiskeynaut, no. No, 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 no.
Well, that's it for the alcohols, Leah. So, what are we going to do now?
I'm sorry, I have feelings. Anyway, I think it's time to welcome a brand new member of our Possum Passel.
Oh, shit. Yay. Possum Passel. Hold on. Oh, I hit it twice. Oh, that's awful.
That is not cute. No. Stop. You are done with the sound. Thanks. Okay. You're done.
Oh, all right. That was it. So who are we welcoming?
We're welcoming Elizabeth.
Yay, Elizabeth.
Welcome to the Possum Passel. Thank you so much. I feel like we kind of neglected to say this one on time because I think you got the alert and I didn't, and I'm the one that usually sees the alerts and puts them in the notes. Yep. So I don't believe we've said Elizabeth's name yet, and I apologize for that. So
as far as we know, it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, we think it's been a couple of weeks, and we apologize for it taking so long for us to acknowledge your fantastic donation, and I apologize for that. It's my fault, but guess what? We're going to say your name even louder this time. Okay. Yay, Elizabeth!
Yay, Elizabeth!
We so much appreciate your donation. And if anybody else wants to join the Possum Passel, they are more than welcome to do so at patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast. Mm-hmm. This month for our Patreon episode, we did a live stream of my 7th grade original album.
Yep. It was awesome. I had so much fun.
So bad. and that video is still available on patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast. Mm-hmm. At any level, if you donate, you are going to be able to listen to that. And I think we were gonna upload some tracks in case anybody finds a good bop there that they really just want to have for themselves. And just as a fair warning, Baby Leah couldn't sing for shit, so it is hilarious. It is terrible. I think you will enjoy it. So if you want to give us $1 every month, you're very welcome to go over to patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast, join the Possum Passel, and help support this show. I hope that works.
Yeah. And at some point, I will upload the album for everybody's downloading pleasure.
Yeah.
So there you go. Oh, all right. Well, that was fun.
Yep.
For real, though, go check that out, y'all. I had a fucking great time.
We had a good time. We had some patrons that were live chatting with us on the text.
Go ahead.
Like in the chat comment section. I don't know. It was really fun. We had a good time. I think everybody else had a better time making fun of me, but it's fun. Baby Leah was very make fun of bull. Make fun of a bull? I don't know.
There you go.
Anyway, so yeah, that's our new patron. Thank you, Elizabeth, once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, are you ready to move into Sassy Southern Saying?
I sure am.
All right. Well, this week we're gonna do a pretty easy one just for you, Mitchell. Okay. And I will use this in a phrase or in a sentence after we're done. But the phrase is as welcome as an outhouse breeze.
Well, that's easy. It's it's real hot when you shit sometimes. And a nice cooling breeze is welcome.
That is not it at all. It's the exact opposite. So an outhouse breeze just means a breeze is blowing past the outhouse and wafting the stank on towards you.
Right.
So you do not want an outhouse breeze because it smells like shit.
Yeah.
So like that Whiskeynaut.
Am I the only one that sweats when they take a shit?
Yes.
I don't believe so, Leah. I think you're wrong.
If it is that much of an intense labor for you, we need to get you checked out.
It's not so much that, it's just like, existing makes me sweat.
Gross. but can confirm you're a very sweaty person.
Gross.
But yeah, so like that Whiskeynaut is welcome as an outhouse breeze.
Well, it's going to be causing some outhouse breezes early tomorrow morning.
Oh, it's so gross.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. So there was my sassy Southern saying. I hope you enjoyed it.
It was my favorite, Leah, because it reminded me that we need to up the air conditioning in the back bathroom back there.
There is that room is actually the only one in the house that's not air conditioned.
I know, and it's where I go to the bathroom.
No vents connect to it because it was originally an exterior laundry room.
Right. Well, now it's inside, and I need some vents in there because goddamn, it gets musky back in that room.
I am not paying to ventilate your pooping cave. I'm sorry.
I think I was looking for the word musty, and I said musky. Well, at first it's musty, and then it becomes musky.
It's really gross. It's really, really gross.
Also, I was in a band called Musty to Musky at one time.
That sounds like a terrible band.
Yeah, we were pretty shitty. Fucking owned.
Stop. That was not funny, and I'm mad at you.
Oh, all right. I'm ready to move on.
All right. Well, are you ready for our very first story of the evening?
Sure am.
All right. Well, we are going to go to Texas. We're going to Sabine, Texas specifically, and we are going to talk about the ghost of Sabine Pass.
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. I was taking a sip of Judge Juicy. I apologize.
Gross. Do you know where Sabine, Texas is?
I'm going to say Central Texas.
You're
Dead
very
center.
incorrect. So, Sabine, Texas is right on the border between Louisiana and Texas. It's on the boot heel of Louisiana.
I almost said Southeast Texas, but it would have just been East Texas.
Yeah, it's on the very, it meets at the corner. So there's a river inlet. So where the ocean meets the Sabine
sand.
River. So what?
Where the ocean meets the sand. That's what I said.
No. But it's like sort of an estuary area. So where the ocean meets the river, and it sort of commingles salt and fresh water.
Yeah.
That's where this is. And the Sabine Pass is an area.
The Delta, I believe they call that.
Yeah, and in the Delta there's an estuary because of the water mixing.
Super fertile soil in the Delta.
Indeed.
At all times.
But at any rate, we're not talking about soil conservation or wetlands or anything
like rivers.
like that.
I'm kind of a river guy.
Yeah.
Where they end. I've told you this before. I just like flowing water. It's something weird about me. I find it really calming and really fun. I like flowing water a lot. Rivers are kind of a big deal for me. Streams, mostly. Tributaries.
Rivulets.
Go ahead. Rivulets, yes. I'm a big fan of rivulets.
I'm a creek guy myself, but whatever. Anyway,
a little insight into me.
You done yet?
I think so, but I mean, deltas are fun. Like, it's a real fun part of the river. It's like the river gets to the ocean and goes, wait, shit, and then it, finally gets in there. I love a good delta. Go ahead. What is wrong with you? All right. It's broken. I don't even know why. Why was that funny? Oh. She may never recover. I don't even understand. That's the best part of when you have these broken laughs, because at the end you always go, "Whoo!"
I'm sorry about that, y'all.
That's how I know we're safe to proceed. Leah goes, "Whoo!" I don't get it. I don't know what's funny this time. Was it the imagery of me saying that the river's like, hold the fuck on and spreads out?
No, it was not. It was I like deltas.
I do. Deltas are super fertile. They do a lot for society. They have a lot to offer, and they're just interesting.
Oh my God. All of the things that you're saying are completely true, but I know you, and I've lived with you for quite some time now, and just the fact that you have, like, a favorite body of water when you literally don't have a favorite. See, fucking...
It's not my favorite. I prefer a nice desert oasis if we're talking favorites.
See, and you killed it. You killed the joy right there.
I wasn't trying to kill it. I was trying to tell you that I enjoy deltas.
Yeah, you do.
What did I do wrong?
Oh my God, so weird. I've laughed for like 4 minutes. I apologize, y'all. I'm just trying to explain the setup of this. We haven't even gotten to the Battle of the Ghost or anything. Shit.
Did it occur in the Delta?
No. It's in the Sabine Pass, which is what I'm trying to tell you about, but you won't hush about your Delta.
What's the Sabine Pass?
The Sabine Pass is an area that, it is close to the Delta. It's near the mouth of the river, but it's a little bit upriver from that. And this area is where the Confederacy had built basically a fort to protect the river for shipping lanes,
Okay.
And so the Union soldiers obviously wanted to take over that fort so they could take over the waterway so they could ship things more easily, and they could also cut the Confederacy off from supply routes, which is, really a big deal in battles. That's sort of, you're trying to take over their strategy and whatnot. I'm not good at this shit, and I've just gotten done laughing, and I think I'm down oxygen. But anyway, my point is that it was on September the 8th of 1863. There was a battle called the Battle of Sabine Pass, and basically there was a few Union ships that were blockade runners, and they were attempting to make it through the Sabine Pass so they can take over that fort and get past the Confederacy and take that section over. And at this point in the Civil War, the Confederates had lost a lot of battles. Like it was not looking great for them, which, I mean, obviously we know it did not end up great for them, but this is one particular battle that they actually won. For this one,
good for them. Good for them. They needed a win.
The issue with what happened is there's sort of a river valley there, and the Confederate installation had a bunch of cannons. They had 47 cannoneers and 6 of what they called pop guns, which I assume is like a smaller artillery weapon of some sort.
They shoot foam balls at a very short distance.
Probably not. Like just a bunch of marshmallow launchers. Anyway. So there were 19 Union ships and about 5,000 soldier folks that were trying to make it past. And they were very much defeated, like pretty bad. And one particular boat went down and it killed 22 men who they know who their names are because they were Union soldiers, and there were muster rolls. And so in the there's a
muster rolls.
So like
what is that?
Muster is like, so when you're in like a military or whatever, muster means you all have to be there at the same time in the morning, and they make sure everybody's there. A muster roll is just the list of who all has to be there. You know what I mean?
It's roll call.
Yeah, exactly. But they call it muster.
They took attendance every morning?
Yes. Just to make sure you mustered
yourself up?
Yeah.
Oh, fucking shit. I am on fire.
I wish. Anyway.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry. I didn't actually mean that. I love you. Please don't incinerate yourself. Yeah. So there were, like I said, 22 Union naval folk that were killed in that particular battle. And there is a monument there I think there's a state park near where the battlefield was, and their names are on there. But there were also hold on, I think I got that number wrong.
Uh-oh.
There were 30 Union soldiers and sailors that had died, and their names were recorded. But there were 22 other men that were freed black men that they just don't know their names. They didn't have them on the rolls, didn't give a fuck about them apparently. But that is for another day. But at any rate, so there were 52 men killed in that boat that went down there. And so the next day, after, the Confederates had gotten their victory, the prisoners that they had taken had been taken to the fort and all of that stuff, and they were left to bury all of the dead bodies from both sides. And the heat of it was September in Texas. It was hot, and the bodies had already kind of started to cook in the sun. Oh. So they were having a really hard time getting everything together and in the burial trenches and stuff like that, because sort of like the meat was falling off the bones kind of situation. Yeah. It was really bad.
It was slow cooked.
Yeah, like Texas brisket. You know what I mean?
Oh, Jesus Christ, Leah.
Yeah, pretty bad.
I don't think... there's a sex position called Texas brisket, I'm pretty sure.
Ew. Just ew. And no. Anyway, shot in the dark.
Okay. Hold on. Wait. What was wrong with that? I hit it twice. God damn it.
Double fire.
This fucking thing.
I guess that means you have to take a double if you lose.
If it was anything besides Whiskeynaut, I would think about it.
All right. So, shot in the dark. One of the corpses was not completely intact. What was the body missing? Was it missing A, its head, B, both arms, C, both legs?
Oh, this is uncomfortable. I'm going to say both arms.
You're incorrect.
Shit. I don't want to do this. I really don't want to take this shot. Oh, God, I might die. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm not going to sit here and wait. You're not going to sit here.
I just wanted to watch your face.
Oh, God.
Anyway, so the victim had clearly, and there were actually eyewitnesses of what happened that they had written about it later. But basically what happened was a cannonball from the fort, the Confederate fort, came sort of...
fucking A.
You okay?
That's rough. Oh, shit, that's rough.
Yeah, so a cannonball hit the deck of the ship that this guy was on, and it sort of bounced up, and it hit the gunner in the neck, and it completely decapitated him. And his head fell overboard, but the body was left on deck of the ship. So they don't know the name of the headless gunner, but they don't know which specific person it was. But all the men that died in that battle are on the list of it. So it's one of those guys, but they're not sure which one, if that makes sense. Because
he didn't have his head. They couldn't match his dental records.
I don't think that's it. I think no one ever recorded which guy it was that lost his head.
Leah, I'm dying.
I'm sorry.
Oh, fucking A.
But yeah, so like I said, it decapitated him, and they were like, whatever, we're just going to bury the body regardless. So later on the next day, they were out patrolling, and they see the body of another man floating by, and one of the guards was like, oh, look, it's another dead guy. And the guy was suspicious of the body, and he was like, I don't know if he's dead or not. So he gets out, sort of wades out in the water towards it, and grabs it by the heel, and it caused the head of the body to go under, and it starts kicking and like, oh, fuck. And so clearly it was not a dead body, and they sort of revived, and they had been holding something, just clinging to something, and so once they got him out of the water and they searched him, they realized that he had been holding the dead man's head.
Oh.
Yeah, like I guess he had like clung on to it I don't know why he was holding on to this dude's head, but he had it.
If we're struck by a cannon, reach for your nearest compatriot's head.
Yeah. And so the Confederate soldiers were like, damn it, we are not digging another fucking hole for this dude's head. So they just took the head and they tossed it back into the river. And so like, just fine. They're like, I don't really want to toss it back. So after the war was over and all of that, you know, Reconstruction came and all of that stuff. And basically, the story started appearing in local papers in that area. That people were hearing this weird noise on the banks of the river at night. Sort of a grunting noise, a wailing noise, just this unearthly kind of noise, you know?
Okay.
And it was, I think the first reference to this particular ghost was in, like, one of the newspapers had a monthly, just like a Confederate veterans column where they would talk about, you know, reunions or opinion pieces, just stuff like that. And they were talking about... And they were talking about how this particular Union soldier was, you know, killed at that battle, and he was left headless, and they never actually gave his head a burial. And I believe the ghost began appearing on the banks of it, or you know, people started believing that it was. And so basically the folklore is, the ghost story is that this headless Yankee, is, they call it the headless Yankee, but this headless Union soldier is walking the banks of the river trying to locate his head, but he doesn't have any tongue or anything left to, like, actually use words. So the only thing that he can do is make that awful grunting banshee noise.
But how does that happen, though? You can't be headless and make noise. You can bang on shit.
Because your vocal cords are sort of closer down here.
Into
I don't
the chest?
know. And I mean, you could probably make some kind of noise. It would probably be pretty breathy, but, you know. But also, this is sort of, as Mitch liked to point out, a delta kind of swampy area. And from what I read in this article, and this article was written by an older gentleman named W.T. Block Jr., and it was a column that was written for a Texas newspaper in 1998. But it was a fun story and I wanted to do it. But he was like, yeah, a lot of people just believe that the sounds that people hear when they're actually hearing the grunts of the Yankee soldier, it sounds a lot like a mating alligator.
Oh, okay. I was going to say diarrhea from the Cajun food.
No, well, it's possible, because that is also possible, but mostly people believe that sound, the sound that people report as being the the headless Yankee ghost, is actually just alligators fucking.
Just some dude with food poisoning.
Or alligators, I don't know.
Off in the bayou somewhere, just
Stop.
I am fucked up off of that shot, Leah.
I'm so glad I didn't have to take that.
Oh, fucking A.
I'm really hoping you get this next question wrong.
I was just about to say, I'm hoping I don't have to take the second one. It's not pleasant. Oh.
All right, well, are you ready for our second story?
Oh, that one's done?
Yeah, that was everything. Did
So
you have questions, comments, concerns?
It turns out it's just fucking alligators?
I'm pretty sure it's just literally fucking alligators.
Yeah. Have you ever heard...
I mean, the dude really did die and lose his head, but...
Yeah. Have you ever heard or seen the videos of tortoises mating? Because
it is the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life.
They make noises like that, too.
I don't remember what happened, but that brought up the topic I don't remember, but it was me and one of the girls that ended up being a bridesmaid at our wedding, and a couple of our other sorority sisters just spent a good couple of hours in one of our dorm rooms in college just watching videos of turtle noises. Just the funniest fucking, like, we cackled for hours just watching turtle fucking videos.
Oh God, Leah.
We were weird kids.
I was
going to say
you did not have the typical college experience, I don't think.
No, probably not, but I'm fine with it.
We watched crazy porn.
That is technically be porn to
porn.
a species.
If there's just like one dude behind the turtles, like thumbs up, and there you go, you got your crazy porn.
They make the just.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weirdly high pitched, but it's also like, grunting like that.
It's really funny. And the giant Galapagos tortoises are the funniest.
Have you seen that one that God, probably everybody's seen it. It was a big thing on the internet a couple years ago where there's just a giant tortoise in someone's backyard, like on their back patio, with an erection, and it just all of a sudden explodes. Like the penis, not the tortoise.
Yeah.
It is the grossest thing I've ever seen. And goddamn, that tortoise needed to get off. I mean, shit, dude. He was definitely part of like NoFap November or something. It was a big deal for him.
Also, I don't think his hands reach that far.
Yeah, I don't know how tortoises masturbate. It's probably that. It's probably find a patio and just rub against it. Which, admittedly, I've tried.
Oh, so weird. How did we get to talking about turtle erections?
The noises.
Oh, yeah. Okay, anyway. So do you want to hear a different story or what?
I don't think so.
Okay, bye, y'all.
Oh, good. Let's talk about tortoise penises for the next 30 minutes. No, do the second story.
Okay, cool. All right, we're going to North Carolina for this one, and we are going to be talking about the Nag's Head portrait.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't know what that means.
Good. So to actually tell you about what the Nag's Head portrait is and why it's important, I have to tell you a lot of backstory. So prepare yourself.
Backstory's my favorite.
Yes, we are talking about Theodosia Bartow Burr, and she's actually the daughter of Aaron Burr.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
The guy who killed Alexander Hamilton?
Yes.
My name is Alexander Hamilton.
Yes.
Alexander
and actually, one of the songs in Hamilton is named after her.
Oh, that's cute.
It's a lullaby that her dad sings.
Oh, that's cute. We were supposed to go see Hamilton Easter weekend, I believe, or around there.
Yeah, we're supposed to see it in August now, but I don't think that's going to happen either.
Oh, shit. I didn't even know that got moved.
Yeah, it got moved to August.
Oh, that's too much.
I've told you before, but...
You have, but it didn't stick.
No.
So, oh, shit. All right, we'll talk about this off the recording. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I might be waiting for that Christmas present for quite some time. But anyway, so Theodosia Bartow Burr was born in Albany, New York, on June the 21st of 1783. Now, if you don't really know a whole lot about Aaron Burr, he married a woman named Theodosia Burr. Well, Theodosia, and then she married him and became a Burr, obviously.
Nobody knows her maiden name. Wasn't important.
I'm sure they do, but I didn't write it down. I'm sorry. But his marriage to her was a real scandal because she was a much older woman. Oh. She had previously been married and she had 5 kids, but she was a widow and she fell in love with a much younger Aaron Burr, and they got hitched and everybody was like, man, she's so much older than you. That's weird. She's already got a bunch of kids. What are you doing? That's so weird. But I mean, they loved each other and it worked out just fine. And they had one child together and it was Theodosia. And her dad fucking loved her. It was a little freaky how much he loved her. They were inseparable. It was just a very strong father-daughter bond. He did everything he could to make sure that she was the most well-educated child that she possibly could be. It was to the point where he was basically educating her as well as he would have a male child, which was practically unheard of.
We can't have that. I don't agree with that in 2020. What was he doing back then?
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like, anytime that he was away from the house, she just, like, was inconsolable. She liked her to be near her dad. Just, they were best friends, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And one of the quotes that I just makes me laugh and pissed off at the same time, but his plans for educating her and all of that stuff, one of the quotes that he wrote about his daughter is, quote, "I hope yet by her," meaning Theodosia, "to be convinced sorry, let me try that again. "I hope yet by her to convince the world what neither sex seems to believe, that women have soul."
Oh, I don't agree. No. Unless you're a black woman, you ain't got no soul.
No, he's just attempting to, like, prove that women are women by educating his kid. The fact that they didn't believe that women had souls, or just, I don't know.
Well, like, does having a soul affect your ability to learn, though?
I have no fucking idea.
How do the two relate, is my question.
I don't know.
That quote, break it down, explain it to me.
Nah, let's keep moving.
No.
So, anyway, in 1800, Theodosia met this wealthy plantation dude from South Carolina, and his name was Joseph Alston.
Are you saying he was a plantation owner? 'Cause
yeah.
Plantation dude sounds like he works there.
No, he does not work there. He owns it.
The word dude was literally made for a ranch hand.
Yeah, I get it, but no, he is the master of the plantation. Okay. He is the wealthy white planter that you have in your mind. He's that guy. And he was from South Carolina. He had a big plantation that he had inherited from his own family. And they fell in love, and they were like, hey. And anyway, they ended up getting married the next year in February. And about 9 months later, they had a baby.
Oh, that's cute.
Yay. And Aaron Burr nicknamed the baby Gampy.
What does that mean?
No idea, but that is a terrible nickname. If someone nicknamed me Gampy, I would be a little mad about it.
No.
But the baby's name was like Aaron. It was his dad's name, or her dad's name. It was Aaron Burr Alston. So she named him after her dad. But,
cute.
Yep. But at that point, her dad was like sworn in as the vice president. Like, he had just become, right after they got married, he had just become the vice president under Thomas Jefferson. And they didn't like each other either. But anyway.
Well, why was he his running mate?
I really don't know. I think shit was different back then. But
I honestly don't know much about this story. Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton.
Well, you're going to really enjoy the musical then, because it is fun and educational. Actually, it comes out on Disney Plus in July, and I'm watching that sucker. I can't wait.
100%. Like, we don't even need to go see it.
Well, yeah. But I want to see it live because the touring cast is supposed to be really good. But anyway.
Fuck that.
Yeah. So after her baby was born, though, she had a lot of health issues during the birth, and it was a very bad birth. She ended up suffering from a prolapsed uterus.
Oh, no.
Which was incredibly painful. They couldn't fix it at the time. And so basically she couldn't have sex anymore because, floppy uterus. And
Jesus Christ.
I'm sorry.
Leah.
It's what happened.
Fucking shit.
She was in a great amount of pain for the rest of her life. She could no longer have intercourse. It was just bad.
Do you think it would turn off potential listeners to name this episode Floppy Uterus?
Yes, I do. Please don't make that the title. You got to draw them in with something interesting, but not
You're right.
terrifying.
Normal Uterus will be the name of the episode.
No flopping uterus is here. God.
Non-floppy uterus.
Gross. Ugh.
You are the worst.
I know. But anyway, so she had some major health issues, obviously. And she ended up moving to her husband's plantation, which is called the Oaks, and it does still exist there in South Carolina. And she supposedly haunts that place too, but that's another story for another day.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does the ghost have a floppy uterus too?
Maybe. I don't know how internal organs work with ethereal beings.
This absolutely is not funny, but you said floppy uterus.
I apologize.
So I'm running with it.
This is a very serious medical condition. But at any rate.
Holy shit.
Anyway, she, like I said, moved to South Carolina to live with, her husband on his estate. And she super duper hated it because it was really hot. There was a lot of mosquitoes. It's South Carolina without air conditioning, which sounds miserable to me. And she ended up just basically splitting her time between New York, where her dad was living, and South Carolina, where her husband was living, because she really, liked her dad and hated South Carolina. So anyway, they, had a good time just being rich, wealthy white people at the time for the most part. And then, unfortunately, Aaron Burr decided that it would be a great idea to shoot Alexander Hamilton while he was still the vice president, by the way. And so he actually wrote Theodosia a letter to say bye in case he got shot at the duel. And the letter said, I am indebted to you, my dearest Theodosia, for a very great portion of the happiness which I have enjoyed in this life. Hold on. For a great portion in this life. Oh, because okay. I thought the grammar was off. He's just a weird dude. Anyway, you have completely satisfied all that my heart and affections had hoped for or even wished. And the next day he shot Alexander Hamilton in the head or chest. I'm not sure where he actually shot him, but at any rate, the rumors sort of around the duel were a little iffy, because no one exactly knows why they had a duel in the first place, but a lot of people believe that what caused it was that Alexander Hamilton was basically spreading rumors that Aaron Burr and Theodosia were in an incestuous relationship.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, because they had such a close bond, and she was all the time coming to visit him, and he just really doted on his daughter a lot, that a lot of people in society were starting to whisper about it was an unseemly relationship, and that is one of the things that people have speculated that duel could have been over, was that Alexander Hamilton had said something about him fucking his daughter, which I would be pissed about too, to be fair, but I probably wouldn't shoot someone in the head for it. But what are you gonna do? So after he shoots Alexander Hamilton, obviously Aaron Burr is
interesting,
kind of an issue. You shouldn't really shoot people. It's not great, especially if you're the vice president. But what are you gonna do? But he actually was never tried for that murder at all. Yeah. He was in a lot of trouble. People really didn't like it, but for the most part, he got off with that murder scot-free.
Aaron Burr, don't do it again.
Right. Anyway, shot in the dark.
Oh, fucking shit. I don't know why our dog barked in the middle of that. That was great.
After serving out his term as vice president, what did Burr do next? Did he A, move to England and marry into the aristocracy? B, move to the Caribbean and become a privateer? Or C, move out west to establish a new country?
Oh, God. I wish that I knew anything about Aaron Burr. Give them to me just one more time, please.
Did he A, move to England and marry into the aristocracy? Did he B, move to the Caribbean and become a privateer? Or C, move out west to establish a new country?
I'm going to say B, Caribbean.
You are incorrect.
Oh, fuck. What is life?
Shrek is life.
Yeah, Shrek is life. If y'all don't know what that is, look up that video, and apologies ahead of time. Just YouTube, Shrek is life.
Anyway, so he actually moved out west to establish a new country. So after he served out his term as vice president, he went west.
Is this part of the Louisiana Purchase?
No, not at all. He went to the western North America, sort of not quite Texas, but in that Midwesty area. And he decided that he was going to set up a new country, and he was going to become the emperor. And after he died, Theodosia was going to be the empress. He was going to pass on his new country to his daughter. And he actually got a lot of funding from his daughter and son-in-law specifically to do this because
he got a lot of plantation money?
Yeah, because his son-in-law has a fuck ton of plantation money.
Good for you, Aaron Burr. Good for you.
And Aaron Burr is, not the wealthiest anymore because he's no longer the vice president. He kind of shot a dude. His fortunes were not great, but his daughter's fortunes were. And so, his daughter's husband, but anyway, they were bankrolling this whole thing, and they were super pumped about it too. And Theodosia was like, "Oh yeah, we're about to establish a new settlement. Hell yeah!" But it didn't work out very well. And eventually, their sort of plan was found out by people, that were the ones to know about that stuff. I don't know who exactly, but Congress, I guess.
What are you talking about?
People in Washington, D.C. found out that he was trying to start a rival country on the continent.
Was it to rival the U.S.?
Yes.
He didn't just be like, there's a lot of land. I just want to do my own thing.
Well, they believed that all of that land belonged to them because they were assholes. But anyway, basically...
Manifest destiny, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
That whole
Not
thing?
quite there yet, but close enough.
Yeah.
And they basically were found out that they were trying to start this, establish this country.
What was he naming it?
I don't know that I ever saw what he had decided to name it.
Burrville.
But they arrested him and they took him into custody. And in 1807, he was tried for treason in Richmond, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And Theodosia and her husband stood by his side. Were like, "No, this is perfectly fine. It's not treason. You just gonna go out there and do some stuff. It's fine. Don't worry about it." Anyway, he finally got acquitted. And so eventually, to sort of lay low for a little while after the whole treason thing, Theodosia helped smuggle him onto a ship headed for Europe. So he hung out in Europe for a little while until the heat died down and he came back and moved back into his home in New York. But while her father was gone, Theodosia's health got really bad. People speculate that she probably had uterine cancer at this point, just because of the symptoms that she writes about in her journals and to doctors and stuff like that. A lot of those letters still exist.
She had the floppy uterus, right?
And so, that, like I said, they believe that she had a type of uterine cancer and it was causing all of the symptoms that she was having. But she was just real bad, hysterical fits. She saw lights and flashes and heard noises and was restless and just all the different shit. And she was just very, very ill. And then on top of all of that, like probably uterine cancer, basically, she was away from her dad, which she super hated because she enjoyed his company. And then on top of all of that, in 1812, Gampy got bit by one of those South Carolina mosquitoes, and he died of malaria.
Jesus.
Yeah. So after her baby died, she just stopped. You know what I mean? Like, she no longer wanted to do anything. It was a deep depression, which totally, obviously, that's just going to happen. And then I think one of the letters that she wrote after her son died, it said, quote, "There is no more joy for me. The world is blank. I have lost my boy." So, like, she was in the depths of despair at this point. And she really needed, just some time away from South Carolina, the weather or the climate, I believe, which had claimed her child. And she really wanted to visit her dad. So, unfortunately, her husband couldn't really come with her on that trip to visit her dad because he was actually just elected the governor of South Carolina just like a month after their kid died. So he was trying to set up, his government and stuff like that in South Carolina. So he was unable to accompany her to get some rest and relaxation in New York. And the War of 1812 had just started raging in the Atlantic Ocean. And, he was really worried that she had bad health anyway. She was really depressed and the war's going on kind of thing. So he's really worried about it. So Aaron Burr, to make sure that she gets back to him safely, he sends one of his friends who's a doctor, who, can see over her health on the journey. His name was Timothy Green. And they got a little schooner, and they sailed it down to South Carolina to pick her up. So, she, along with Dr. Green, a French maid, and just a small crew, got on board a schooner called the Patriot, at the Georgetown Harbor, on December the 31st. And so once they set sail, a week passed, and then 2 weeks passed, 3 weeks passed, 4 weeks passed. Absolutely no word from the Patriot. They didn't hear ever again from any of the crew.
Oh, no.
None of the passengers. Just nothing. And basically, by February, they had completely given up hope of ever seeing them ever again, because they were lost at sea. And within weeks of that boat disappearing, lots and lots of rumors started spreading about what happened to Theodosia. Did she run off? Did she go somewhere else? Etc., etc., etc. So there are lots and lots of conspiracy theories about what actually happened to her. And all of that shit that I just told you happened, but she was only 28 when she died.
Jesus, really?
So all of that shit happened in a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah, it did.
And so, like I said, there are lots of very interesting theories as to what happened to her. One of them is, and lots of people have done deathbed confessionals over the years about, I was one of the pirates that got her ship and, etc. One guy did a deathbed confessional saying that, and this one was printed in 1820, saying that he had been one of the crew members on board the Patriot. They had a mutiny, they scuttled the ship, and they killed all of the passengers on board. There was an article that came out in the Mobile paper in 1833 saying that a man had confessed to being a privateer off the coast, and they, took over the Patriot.
Mobile, Alabama?
And
That's
they
weird.
forced Theodosia to walk the plank. Other people said that she ran off with someone else.
On the boat? I don't understand.
Well, that she had redirected the boat and they then docked somewhere else and ran off with someone else. One of the most one of the most famous theories, I guess, was a confession from a man named Benjamin Burdick, and he was basically an old sailor guy, and he made a deathbed confession, and he said that he was part of a pirate ship that attacked the Patriot, and he said that there was one lady on board who was really beautiful and smart and intelligent, and she called herself Theodosia Alston, and they were going to make her walk the plank, and she said, "Can you give me just like a second, bro? Just one. I'll be right back." And he was like, "Okay, fine." And she went and put on like an all white gown, and she got her Bible, and she's like, "Okay, let's do this." And then after she was all dressed in white and was clutching her Bible, she just sort of took a leap off the plank and just sunk to the bottom of the ocean like it was nothing. And that was his story about her. But whether that actually happened or not is very debatable. But the one that I like the best is one that we've actually covered in another story. It's the grave of the unknown stranger. And we covered that story in, I think it was episode 34. It might have been 36, but I'm pretty sure it was 34.
Okay.
But there's a grave that is to the unknown stranger, remember? And it's this really long gravestone that has this huge poem completely engraved in it, and they were paying by the letter. No one ever paid for it, and they got buried there anyway. It's at the St. Paul's Episcopal Graveyard in Alexandria, Virginia.
I don't remember this.
But if you're interested, go back and read, or not read, but go listen to that episode because it's really fun.
Okay.
I liked that story. But there is one small clue as to what actually happened to Theodosia, and that is what we're actually talking about, the portrait, the Nag's Head portrait. So the Nag's Head portrait was, I guess, rediscovered by a man named Dr. Poole, and he found it in 1869. So he was a doctor, and he was on vacation in the Nag's Head area, and he and his daughter were on vacation there, and there was a woman named Polly Mann who was a local woman, and she was very ill, and they needed a doctor to come to her right away. So he came, and she really didn't have any money to pay him for his services, but she did have this portrait on her wall, and she offered it to them, saying, "Hey, I don't have any money, but here, take this in payment." And it was a very stunning portrait of a young woman, and he kind of guessed who it was of and was like, okay, fine. But when asking a little bit more how they came to find it, she said that her husband, who had already died, was a wrecker. And in that area, there's a lot of rocky seabed and stuff like that, and a lot of ships get scuttled, and they scavenge the ships that wash up on the shores of the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Right. And
so she claimed that a couple decades before, he and his friends had come upon this boat, this empty boat, and in one of the cabin they found a bunch of dresses, this portrait, some really nice like trinkets and stuff like that, and they took all of that stuff. Polly had all of the dresses, and they brought that painting back, and they just thought it was a pretty painting, so they hung it on the wall. And so she gave him the portrait, to pay her doctor bills, and he took it back home with him, and he attempted to get the authentication of it because he believed that it was a portrait of Theodosia Burr. And so they tried to get it, verified by some of the people that knew her directly. And most of the family thought it was her. Some of them didn't. But like I said, the painting is still a little bit controversial as to whether or not it is her. The portrait looks like other portraits of her to me, so it was either her or it looked very similar to her. But basically, a lot of people think that if you can authenticate this particular painting, it means that she died off the coast of North Carolina in some manner. So either there were storms on the Outer Banks, which there were definitely recorded storms on January the 2nd and 3rd of 1812 that caused lots and lots of damage to lots and lots of ships that were in that same route. So a lot of people believe that it just went down in the storm, got scuttled on the ship, and then that's how they ended up with that painting. Other people think that it was a pirate and etc. But if it was pirates, they would have taken all of her nice shit too, I think. So my guess is it was a storm, and that's how they ended up with that particular painting, because they believe that she had that portrait commissioned by a pretty famous painter to give to her dad so he could have a nice new portrait of her. And so, like I said, there are a lot of legends surrounding her, how she went missing, and then, like I said, this very odd painting that shows up just out of nowhere, that sort of maybe gives a hint as to what actually happened to her at the end of her life. But that portrait does hang in the Lewis Walpole Library at Yale.
Oh.
And they say that her ghost still haunts the plantation in South Carolina, the Oaks, in the Outer Banks. And yeah, like she's just, it's just a mystery. It's weird. And I think the painting adds an extra layer of intrigue, I guess. That was my intrigued noise.
Yeah, that was a nice one.
Yeah.
It's not as good as your finished laughing for 5 minutes noise. But, you know,
Ooh.
it doesn't signal as much as that noise.
And a lot of stories and shit, like a lot of novels and stuff at the time were written about this story because it was so weird. And she was such a prominent woman to just go missing without a trace. So a lot of hype has been built over the years around her particular story, just because of how famous she was and how famous her husband was and how famous her father was. And, you know, I mean, if it was just some random lady, they probably wouldn't have cared that much. But, you know, since she was well connected, it became sort of a mystery of the day. And people continue to talk about it to this day because it's neat. So, yeah. There's that.
Well, let's just talk about Aaron Burr more.
Okay.
Fuck the rest of all that stuff. Aaron Burr's the interesting one.
Rude.
I'm sorry. I apologize for that, Theodosia. I'm sure that you were very interesting with your flopping uterus.
You don't know anything about her uterus. It's fine.
You said it. All that I know about her uterus, I got from you.
It was prolapsed and probably had cancer.
Yeah. And look at you making fun of it.
And so young, too. Ugh.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so that was the story of the Nag's Head portrait. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did. And now I just want to see Hamilton. Even more.
Yeah.
I can't wait. When in July is that coming on Disney Plus?
I don't remember the exact day. I think it was after the 4th, but...
We're so close, though.
Yeah.
We're so close to it. Well, how about let's just do a toast on this episode, though. Get this one out of the way.
Yeah.
And that way everybody can go watch Hamilton.
You know, in a month or so. But anyway.
Not important.
Everybody, hoist your goblets, your shot glasses, whatever you've got. Don't drink Whiskeynaut. It doesn't taste good. And let's do a toast. Okay. If you hear a grunting on the wind, it could be the Yankee Raider, but since it's swampy in the Sabine Pass, it's probably just a gator. A mystery portrait is all that remains of poor Theodosia Burr. The theories of her death are vast, so pick the one you prefer.
Okay. All right. I guess this toast was okay this week. You tried.
Rude. I thought I did a very good job.
You did. You did great.
If there was a second stanza to the gator one, I was going to rhyme masturbator, but I didn't know how, and I decided not to.
Well, I just want to say that after having these 2 shots of whiskey, I really wish we had some chocolate in this house.
Oh, we don't. I'm sorry.
It has nothing to do with anything, but goddamn, a chocolate orange would hit the spot right now. I love those things. Anybody out there like chocolate oranges?
I think they're gross.
I know that you think they're gross, but they are my favorite thing. One of my favorite things. Also like a strawberry chocolate orange. It's the weirdest thing. If y'all haven't seen this, it's
Wouldn't that
still...
just be chocolate strawberry?
Well, that's the thing, is that it's still in the shape of an orange. It's still like you smack it and it peels apart like an orange, but it's strawberry flavored. It's the dumbest fucking thing, but they are so good. God, they're delicious. We're going to go to CVS, see if they got any. Maybe not tonight. I don't think I can drive.
I'm very sober.
Yeah.
I can drive.
I'm not very sober, but...
But I'm not driving you to CVS to get a fucking strawberry orange.
Leah, please.
No.
I've been working out so hard this week. I deserve a chocolate strawberry orange.
No, you had ramen today. It'll be fine.
Oh, I did have ramen. It wasn't chocolate ramen, though.
It was not.
Yeah.
If anybody is in Huntsville and needs a good ramen fix, go to Stovehouse, go to Komodo.
Komodo. Fucking shit, Leah.
But it's not spelled like the dragon.
Yes, it is.
Is it?
Komodo. Komodo
I had an A.
ramen.
Anyway, fuck it. There's only one ramen shop in the Stovehouse. Go to that one and eat the tonkatsu ramen. It is the best thing that you've ever put in your mouth, guaranteed.
For those of you not in Huntsville, Alabama, sorry. Komodo ramen is fantastic.
It's so good.
Anyway, we're done. Let's cut it out. Follow Komodo Dragon on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
What?
Komodo ramen. Why did I say Komodo Dragon?
And it's spelled Kamado, so you're
Komodo.
wrong.
Follow Komodo Ramen on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They have not paid for this.
No, I just love it.
I just fucking love the pork broth. Oh, it's so good.
If they would pay me in tonkatsu broth, I would just... Oh.
All right. Enough.
Sorry.
Thanks for listening to the Southern Spirits Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Join the Patreon, patreon.com/Southern Spirits Podcast. Send us postcards or any other fun stuff in the mail to P.O. Box 1743 in Hartselle, Alabama. That's Hartselle. And the zip code is 35640. And we thank y'all so much for being here. Check out Leah's album on Patreon if you are a subscriber. And we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.